feet. It was 11 a.m. and the sun was beating down hard on the large construction sites. In the dust and the noise of the hammers, a young woman was painstakingly pushing her mason's wheelbarrow loaded with steaming coolers. Her name was Sabine, and every step she took in the scorching heat was a silent prayer for this day to be better than the last. Her voice, although soft and tired, called out to the workers. "Hot riz jollof. Delicious riz jollof. Come and taste." Every dish she sold was precious. That's what she used to feed her family. Her father, Baba Ture, a man worn out by years of hard labor, was now weakened by a disease that was eating away at his lungs due to all those years of ceaseless work. In the evening, Sabine returned to a modest house. She placed a few crumpled naira notes on the small wooden table. "Baba, the day was hard, but I was able to sell a little." Baba Ture, seated on a wobbly chair, coughed violently before counting the money. "It's not enough for my medication, my daughter, but at least we can eat tonight. You fight too much, you deserve better than this life." Sabine nodded. "As long as I have my legs and my arms, I will never complain, Baba. I'm going to fight, I have no choice." The next day, as she prepared her riz jollof in their small courtyard since dawn, Baba Ture got up with difficulty, his face contorted with pain. "Sabine, my medication is finished. The doctor said if I don't take it regularly." He didn't finish his sentence, but his eyes said everything. Sabine knelt before him and took his trembling hands. "Don't worry, Baba, I'll sell more today, I promise you." "But how?" he asked between two fits of coughing. "The construction sites don't pay well, and the competition is tough." Sabine stood up, her eyes bright with determination. "I'm going to go to new sites. I'm going to try the rich neighborhoods. No one will stop you from getting your treatment, Baba, I swear." And she loaded her wheelbarrow once more, unaware that this day would change her life. The sun was at its zenith when Sabine arrived at a large construction site in an upscale neighborhood of Lagos. It was an impressive villa under construction, with workers everywhere. She parked her wheelbarrow near the entrance of the site and took out a cooler to serve a mason who had signaled her. "Here is your riz jollof, nice and hot," she said, smiling. The man tasted it and nodded with satisfaction. "It's delicious. Will you come back tomorrow?" "Of course," Sabine replied, happy. Suddenly, the sound of a car braking sharply rang out. Crash. Sabine turned around and saw her wheelbarrow overturned, her cooler scattered, her riz jollof spilled all over the dusty ground. A black SUV had just hit her wheelbarrow while trying to park. An elegant man stepped out in a hurry. Well-tailored suit, polished shoes, gold watch. His name was Raphael, owner of several construction companies, and he had come to inspect the progress of his villa. Sabine burst into tears. Her day's work, her hopes of being able to buy her father's medication, everything was destroyed. "My God, all my goods," she sobbed, looking at the scattered rice. Raphael approached, visibly upset. "Miss, I'm truly sorry. It's entirely my fault. I wasn't paying attention." He pulled out his wallet. "How much were all those goods worth? I will reimburse you in full." Sabine wiped her tears. "It was for 15,000 naira, sir, but it's not just the money. My father is sick. I needed that sale for his medication." Raphael handed her 25,000 naira. "Take this, and again my sincerest apologies. I hope your father gets better." The next day, Sabine was at another construction site when she saw the same black car. Raphael got out and recognized her immediately. He approached her. "Hello, Mississippi. How is your father?" "He is better, thank you," she replied with a timid smile. "Thanks to your help, I was able to buy his medication." Raphael nodded. "Can I taste your riz jollof today? I'd like to support you." Sabine served him a generously garnished dish. "Here you go, sir. I hope you'll like it." That evening, in his luxurious living room, Raphael opened Sabine's container. With the first bite, he was astonished. This riz jollof was exceptional, the spices perfectly balanced, the rice wonderfully soft, the meat tender and melting in his mouth. He had never tasted anything so delicious, even in the best restaurants in Lagos. "Incredible," he murmured, savoring every bite. A few days later, Raphael found Sabine at a construction site. "Miss, I have a proposition for you." Sabine stopped, intrigued. I'm looking for a cook for my house. Someone talented and honest like you. The salary is 100,000 naira a month. Sabine's eyes widened. 100,000 naira? Are you serious? Very serious. Your cooking is exceptional. He handed her his business card. Here is my address. Think about it. I'm not putting any pressure on you. In her heart, Sabine knew this was the opportunity of a lifetime. Sabine returned home that evening, her heart pounding. She found her father sitting outside, breathing with difficulty. Baba, a man offered me a job as a cook. 100,000 naira a month. Baba Ture looked up, surprised. 100,000 naira? Who is this man? His name is Raphael. He has a big house and he says my cooking is exceptional. A long silence settled. Baba Ture coughed and then looked at his daughter. Sabine, there are men who make promises to set traps, but there are also those who recognize talent when they see it. You cook like an angel, my daughter. Perhaps God is opening a door for you. What if it's a trap? Baba Ture placed a trembling hand on her shoulder. My daughter, fear must not be your guide. Go see. If you don't feel good about it, you come back. But if it's a real opportunity, don't let it pass. You deserve better than this life of struggle. 2 days later, a dusty taxi stopped in front of a majestic white villa located in an upscale neighborhood of Lagos, where diplomats, ministers, and wealthy businessmen resided. The wrought iron gate shone in the sun, guarded by 2 impeccably uniformed security guards. Sabine stepped out of the vehicle, nervous. In her hand, a small worn bag containing her pots, a few spices carefully wrapped in sachets, and her greatest treasure, a wooden ladle passed down by her grandmother. Her hesitant steps led her to the gate. She took a deep breath before speaking to the guard. Hello, I'm Sabine. Mr. Raphael is expecting me for a cook interview. One of the guards, tall and impassive, picked up the internal phone handset and dialed a number. Hello? Yes, sir. The young woman has arrived. Very well, come in. He is waiting for you. The gate opened slowly, revealing a vast courtyard with paths lined with tropical flowers and fountains. Sabine walked forward, dazzled by so much elegance. The luxury cars parked in front of the garage seemed to belong to another world. She felt tiny, almost out of place, but continued to move forward, determined. A maid in a neatly pressed uniform came to greet her with a discreet smile. They crossed a hall with sparkling marble. Sabine felt like she had entered a 5-star hotel. The maid led her to the kitchen. It was a huge, bright room. Sabine was speechless. Never had she seen such a kitchen, she who usually prepared her dishes over a charcoal fire in a dusty courtyard. Raphael entered shortly after, dressed simply but elegantly. Hello Sabine, welcome to my home. Sabine bowed slightly. Thank you, sir, it's an honor to be here. But before she could add a word, a sharp voice rang out from the living room. So, is she the famous miracle cook? Standing in the doorway was Fatou, a slender woman with carefully applied makeup. Her gaze was full of contempt. Frankly, Raphael, you're hiring just anyone now. Raphael frowned. Fatou, I'd like you to meet Sabine. She will be working here as a cook. Fatou walked forward, her heels clicking on the tile floor. She scrutinized Sabine from head to toe, lingering on her worn sandals and her sackcloth bag. Very well. Then listen closely. You are here to cook. Period. You prepare what you are told, when you are told, and above all, you don't meddle in what doesn't concern you. Understood. Sabine humbly lowered her eyes. Yes, madam. Good. And one false move and you're out. Raphael wanted to retort, but Sabine chose not to say anything. She understood that this would be the beginning of a silent battle where every dish would become proof of her worth. The next day, for her first real day of work, Sabine arrived early and began to cook. She chose simplicity, fragrant riz jollof, crispy grilled fish, and a fresh cucumber and tomato salad. She put all her heart into every movement. When lunch was served, Raphael sat down at the table. At the first bite, his face lit up. Sabine, this is absolutely delicious. Where did you learn to cook like this? Blushing, Sabine replied, with my grandmother, sir. She always said the secret to a dish is the love you put into it. Fatou, sitting across from him, reluctantly took a bite. Her palate immediately recognized the perfect balance of flavors, but her pride refused to admit Sabine's superiority. She merely offered a fixed smile while, internally, jealousy began to simmer. The following days confirmed Sabine's talent. Jollof rice, egusi, pounded yam with vegetable sauce, and steaming smoked chicken. Every meal was an ode to Nigerian tradition, sublimated by her expertise. Raphael, amazed, did not stop complimenting the young cook. "Sabine, you are an artist. This cuisine reminds me of my childhood, but better." Every praise was a blow to Fatou's pride. How could a girl from the streets eclipse a woman accustomed to upscale living? The resentment grew, fueled by the fear that Sabine would become more than just a cook in Raphael's eyes. Before continuing, leave a like on this video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming posts. One evening, Raphael announced with enthusiasm, "Tomorrow, my friends are coming over to watch the Real Madrid match. Sabine, prepare something exceptional for us. As you know so well how to do." Fatou internally exploded. His constant compliments had become unbearable. "No," she suddenly snapped. "Tomorrow, I'm cooking. Sabine can rest." Raphael looked at her, surprised. "Fatou, are you sure? You've never—" "Of course I'm sure," she retorted proudly. "I'm not just a pretty face. I know how to cook too." The next day, the guests arrived. Millionaire businessmen accustomed to refined flavors. Fatou had locked herself in the kitchen all afternoon, sweating under the pressure. She wanted to prove she could match Sabine. The dishes were finally placed on the table: oversalted rice, overly spicy meat, and a sour sauce. The guests exchanged embarrassed glances. One of them discreetly pushed his plate away. "Excuse me, Raphael, but what happened to your usual cook?" Another added, "Usually we feast here." Raphael, red with shame, apologized. "I'm really sorry, guys." He stood up and called urgently, "Sabine, can you quickly prepare something? We have a small problem." Sabine, without wasting time, rolled up her sleeves. In less than an hour, she transformed the kitchen into a culinary theater. Fragrant riz jollof, tender and juicy smoked chicken, crunchy salad, and perfectly golden fried plantain. When the dishes arrived, the guests eagerly dug in. Their faces lit up. "Ah, this is the cooking we know. It's a masterpiece. Raphael, your cook is exceptional. She is a rare gem. A man would be crazy not to marry a woman who cooks like that." Sabine, humble, lowered her eyes. Fatou felt the rage rising. Her efforts had turned to ridicule, and the compliments were once again going to the girl she despised. Later that evening, Fatou, wild with anger, waited for Sabine in the kitchen. "You think you're clever, huh?" she spat through clenched teeth. "You think you can humiliate me like that?" Sabine, calm, replied softly, "Madam, I was only doing my job." Slap. A hand struck Sabine's cheek, burning with pain. "Liar. You want to take my place, is that it?" Fatou screamed. Raphael burst in the exact moment the slap landed. His dark gaze fixed on Fatou. "Fatou, what is wrong with you?" His deep voice resonated like a judgment. Fatou, trembling, pointed at Sabine. "She's trying to replace me. She's charming you with her cooking." Raphael took a deep breath, shook his head, and replied in a firm tone. "The only thing she is doing is her job, and she is doing it perfectly. You, on the other hand—" He paused, as if to contain his anger. "Pack your things. You are leaving this house tonight." Fatou's face crumpled. "What? Are you serious? You're throwing me out for a street cook?" "No, I'm throwing you out for your unacceptable behavior and your morbid jealousy. Sabine deserves respect, not your humiliations." A few hours later, Fatou's suitcases were piled near the door. She left furious. Sabine, standing in the kitchen, watched the scene. She felt no victory, only deep sadness in the face of such gratuitous hatred. From the next day on, the atmosphere in the house changed. The air seemed lighter. Sabine continued her work with the same rigor and passion. But she noticed that Raphael now came to the kitchen more often. He no longer just tasted her dishes. He stayed, asking questions, observing her movements, sometimes even awkwardly helping to cut vegetables. Sabine, where does this recipe come from? How do you make everything so fragrant? You could open the best restaurant in Lagos. These exchanges gave the kitchen the feel of intimate conversations, as if every dish was becoming a bridge between them. Sabine, initially intimidated, sometimes caught herself laughing at Raphael's clumsiness. One evening, as she was preparing a stew, Raphael leaned against the counter, his arms crossed. His tone was softer than usual. Sabine, may I ask you a personal question? She looked up, slightly surprised. Yes, sir. How is your father? Her smile faded a little. Better, thanks to you, but he remains fragile. Sometimes, I'm afraid of losing him. Raphael was silent for a moment, then said sincerely, I would like to meet him if you would allow me. Sabine's eyes widened. Why? Because you are important to me, and I would like to know your family. The following Sunday, Raphael and Sabine went to the popular neighborhood where Baba Touré lived. The contrast was striking between the luxurious villa and this modest house with cracked walls. Under the small awning in the courtyard, Baba Touré was waiting for them, leaning on his cane. Welcome, Mr. Raphael. They sat down and the conversation began naturally. They talked about life, work, trials, and the future. Raphael, touched by the old man's wisdom, declared, Your daughter is exceptional. She has a rare gift. Baba Touré smiled weakly. Sabine has a pure heart, that is her secret. That day, Raphael understood that Sabine's beauty went far beyond her culinary talents. Weeks passed. The closeness between Raphael and Sabine grew stronger. They shared simple moments, a laugh in the kitchen, a discussion about the Lagos markets, a childhood memory. One evening, as she finished cleaning the kitchen, Raphael approached her gently. Sabine, I have something to tell you. She put down her towel, intrigued. What is it, sir? He looked her straight in the eye. Since you have been here, my house has changed. It has a soul now. And I have changed too. His voice trembled slightly. I think I'm falling in love with you. Sabine froze. Mr. Raphael, we are not from the same world. No, that's true, but we share the same values. Respect, sincerity, generosity. That's what matters, isn't it? Tears welled up in her eyes. I'm afraid. Afraid of not being good enough. Sabine, look at me. She raised her head. You are the most authentic woman I have ever met. You don't have to change. I am the one who has learned to become better thanks to you. Their relationship took shape discreetly. No sudden gestures, no spectacular declarations. Their love grew gently, naturally, like a well-watered plant. Raphael discovered a new facet of Sabine every day, her wisdom despite her youth, her strength in the face of adversity, her humility, her ability to transform simple ingredients into a memorable feast. Sabine, for her part, learned to see the man behind the wealth, generous, attentive, capable of disarming simplicity. One morning, Raphael summoned Sabine to the living room. He held an envelope in his hands. I have a surprise for you and your father. Intrigued, Sabine opened the envelope and pulled out some documents. Her brows furrowed. She didn't immediately understand the content. What is this? The deed of ownership for a house I had built for you. She remained speechless. A house for us? Yes. And guess where it is located? Where? She whispered. At the exact spot where we met, where I overturned your wheelbarrow. I bought the land, had the construction site demolished, and built your house in its place. Tears flooded her eyes. Raphael, why are you doing all this? Because that day, by overturning your wheelbarrow, I destroyed your day, but I found my life. This house is my way of saying that our story begins where it almost ended. The next day, Sabine and her father went to the site. Before them stood a simple but sturdy house, painted white, with a shiny tin roof. Inside, a large modern kitchen, 2 airy bedrooms, a bright living room. In the courtyard, a majestic mango tree cast its shadow. Baba Touré, leaning on his cane, contemplated the house, tears in his eyes. My daughter, you deserve all this happiness. You worked hard. You stayed upright. Today, God is rewarding you." Sabine hugged him, overwhelmed. "Baba, we will never lack anything again." A few months later, on a peaceful evening, Sabine and Raphael sat in the courtyard of the house born from an accident. "Sabine, do you remember the day I overturned your wheelbarrow?" She smiled. "How could I forget? I thought my life was collapsing. As for me, I knew that day that my real life was beginning. Your tears opened my eyes. Your courage touched my heart. Your cooking won over my soul." He knelt on one knee and pulled out a simple but elegant ring. "Sabine, do you want us to transform this accident into an eternal love story? Will you marry me?" Sabine looked at him for a long time. In his eyes, she read sincerity. She thought of her father, her trials, the journey she had made. "Yes, Raphael. 1,000 times yes." Her eyes filled with tears, but her lips formed a radiant smile. "Yes, Raphael. 1,000 times yes." That night, under the big mango tree in their courtyard, a Riz Jolliffe vendor agreed to become the wife of a millionaire who, by loving her, had understood that true luxury resided neither in sumptuous villas nor in sparkling cars, but in the sincerity of feelings, in loving and being loved in return. A few months later, the big day arrived in a tastefully decorated hall. Garlands of fresh flowers hung from the beams, white tablecloths covered the tables, and warm laughter filled the air. Sabine walked slowly, her father's arm held tightly against hers. Sabine wore a simple but dazzling dress of pure white fabric enhanced with traditional Ankara patterns that recalled her roots. In the hall, one recognized former clients from the construction sites who once bought her Riz Jolliffe, neighbors from her old neighborhood, Raphael's employees who had learned to love her, and Raphael's wealthy friends, now won over by her authenticity. The vows were simple, stripped of all ostentation but heavy with sincerity. Raphael declared, "I promise to love you in richness as in poverty, in sickness as in health, and never to forget the value of your heart." And Sabine replied, "I promise to cook you my most beautiful dishes, to nourish your soul as well as your body, and to give you the best of my heart." When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Raphael took her tenderly in his arms and put his lips on hers. The room erupted in applause and shouts of joy. That evening, as the celebration was drawing to a close, Sabine looked around. She saw joyful faces, heard laughter, and smelled the dishes she herself had inspired. She said to herself, "Everything I endured led me here." The difficult days spent pushing her wheelbarrow under the scorching sun, the humiliations received from Fatou, the nights spent watching over her sick father, all of it had not been in vain. Her happiness had not fallen from the sky, it had been conquered by her work and her dignity. The years passed, but Sabine did not change in the essential. Now Madame Nguesson, she remained that humble and hard-working woman. She opened a cooking school for underprivileged girls. This school was located not far from where she had once sold her Riz Jolliffe at the construction sites. Every week, she taught classes, but not just on culinary technique. She also spoke about dignity, perseverance, and self-respect. She told these young girls, "Never let the world define your worth. Put your heart into what you do, and sooner or later, the world will see it." Baba Touré, thanks to regular care and medication, had regained his strength. He participated in his own way in the school, telling his and his daughter's story. For the world may despise your work, ignore your efforts, criticize your origins, but it can never resist the authenticity of a pure heart and the talent that comes from the soul. Her story became a living parable. It recalled a simple but powerful truth: it is not our starting point that determines our destination, but the quality of our journey. It taught that excellence lies not in prestige but in the love put into the action. So to you watching this story, remember this: work with dignity, love with sincerity, because one day someone will recognize your worth, and that day, your life will take a turn you never imagined. Like Sabine, who from an overturned wheelbarrow, gave birth to the most beautiful love and the greatest mission of her life. Thank you for watching this story until the end. Do not hesitate to comment, indicating which country you are following us from. Other very interesting stories are available on the channel, so do not hesitate to take a look.